quick break. We'll be right back to continue discussing. Blah, blah. This is a test. Ready when you are. Is everyone's phone off?
Yeah, I'm trying to turn mine on. Mine is doing something crazy. Oh, forget about it.
Smile. Don't tell her that. Don't tell
You know, they're saying that social media is driving us to drink. Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to Trudy Haynes and Friends. And that's the subject we're going to be talking about with my friends, Kathy Lee, the original, Gary Williams, Man About Town, and Jerome Roberts, the Philly Gator. And Jerome, you're going to be it to at least give us a meaning. What is social media? Welcome to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Trudy, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you again. Social media is a computer-based technology that facilitates sharing ideas, thoughts, and information through building virtual networks and communities. By design, social media is internet-based and gives users quick electronic communication of content. Content includes pictures, videos, documents, and personal information. And the primary way that people interact with social media is through their phone, the smartphone, a tablet, or a computer, because it's all web-based. Asia leads the world in social media usage. Indonesia is the #1 country. Half the world, 3.8 billion people, are on social media. And by 2023, it's estimated in America, 257 million people will be on social media. The largest networks are Facebook, which is #1 in the world, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and when you get over into the business aspect, is LinkedIn. And finally, the last point that makes social media so ubiquitous is user-generated content and personalities, and it's very, very, very personal. You know, the internet started as a way of interacting with family and friends, but it's been co-opted by business and government to become something else. So that's basically what social media is. It tends to be young, it tends to be wealthy, and it tends to be the well-educated that are the big users of it.
I don't know about you, but that sounds awfully confusing to me already. What do you think about it, Kathy?
What do I think about it? Having gone from the little black telephones that were attached to my grandmother's little telephone stand to some of the little princess phones all the way up to the now. What do I think about social media? I think it has its good side and I think it has its bad side. And I think part of the challenge that I face as a teacher at the Microsoft School of the Future, where everything was technology based, is we don't know what sources are the sources that we should be relying
Mhm.
upon to even spread or even have a conversation. You have to check the sources of things. And a lot of times they can be misleading. And I do know that Facebook, they're all about the money. All they care about is the money. They don't care about the impacts on people's lives and how they're affecting teenagers. But in defense of Facebook and these other social medias, no parent has to buy their kid a phone. No parent
Mhm.
has to have the internet unless it's for school. So, I mean, let's put some onus back on the people that are complaining about what their kids are doing on social media. I'm just saying.
Well, talking about all of that, and it really is confusing if you don't understand it. The children seem to understand it better than we do. But Gary, do you think we should have some controls on social media?
Oh, yes. Well, they started out with controlling it, but then it got out of whack, and the government is involved in it also because it's all hooked up and connected to invasion of privacy, actually, because of the fact that when you use the social media, you don't know what's who's monitoring and how it's being used on one side, and then on the other side it's saying that the children that are now, especially females, they were saying young girls are getting um, it's making them crazy. And then now I realize that the reason that a lot of the young people are hurting and harming each other is because he say she say that they're using on this Instagram and this Facebook, and the comments that they're giving to one another are making them violent. So it was leading towards that. And every time social media gets pulled to the carpet by the government, it seems like they give them a slap on the wrist and then they go back to doing the same thing. And now there's a woman that came out on 60 Minutes to speak about social media and how it's affecting the young people recently. If people want to listen to or go back to the series on 60 Minutes alone,
Hmm.
that where she was the what they call the person that comes out and speaks out about a particular subject matter.
Subject,
Uh, yeah, I
the
forget what the
host.
name. No, it's someone that's inside the company that comes and
Oh,
talks
A
about it.
whistleblower. She's a whistleblower.
Whistleblower. Yeah, she came out as a whistleblower and she started revealing all the different things about social media and how, Kathy, I concur with you as far as the monetary value, because they were afraid that if they stopped going on, then the commercials that exist that they put on these Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, and Facebook is the same as Instagram, that they would stop the commercial advertisements and they wouldn't get bombarded with making extra monies from that. So it can be. It appears right now that it's more dangerous than it is beneficial to me.
I'm glad you
That's
brought that
that's
up.
quite interesting. That's quite interesting, Gary. And I just want to follow up on something that you mentioned and Kathy Lee mentioned, and that was about rumors spreading, especially amongst young people and especially in the Black community. There's been some speculation that the interaction on social media is causing some of the shootings that are going on in the Black community, and murder across the country is up dramatically. It's not just it's not just due to the pandemic, but some of the speculation is that it's because of rumors that are spread on social media, and kids take it personally and go to the guns. One of
Yeah.
the things about social media that is really historical is that if you kick back to George Orwell in his book 1984, he talks about the elements that we can look at today: perpetual war. We just had a 20-year war in Afghanistan, omnipresent government surveillance. Now, here's the weird thing: we don't need the government surveillance when on Facebook you're telling the government exactly what you're doing, who your friends are, who you're hanging out with. They can
So
track you
what?
through your cell phone. Think of all the propaganda that allows these small networks to gain power. Vis-a-vis, look at how Trump used it with his people.
Mm,
You
yeah.
know, it's very dramatic. You know, and one of the parts that they talk about in 1984 is something that's called historical negationism or historical denialism, where they falsify or distort reality. They falsify or distort history. We can falsify and distort through social media. January 6th, the January 6th insurrection. You know, it can be
So
all
what are we
done.
going
You
to
know,
do? What are we doing? What are we going to do about
Well,
it? Can
I
we
Well,
can
do
tell you
anything
what
I,
I've
about
done.
uh,
Gary, hold on one second. I can tell you what I'm doing.
yeah.
I picked up what's that little thing that talks to you? It's Siri, but it's the other one that you put in your house,
Alexa.
little box. It was in my bedroom. And you can't tell me that thing didn't take a picture of my rear end. I felt like I was being followed all over the place. I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? And then I thought about Bluetooth and going back and piggybacking on what you guys are talking about. The government owns Bluetooth. I don't care who owns it. Does the government own Bluetooth? Is a better question. Google, who owns all of that stuff? I mean, you have things saying you got a package. I'm saying, well, how? Who is telling me that? And I realized it was this little machine, and you don't know what it's doing, what it's spying on. And there are people that my brother who worked for the government, he does not have a Facebook account. He doesn't have any of this stuff. So one of the things we can do, Trudy, to get back to what you were saying, is I unplugged that thing. I don't want that thing spying on me and knowing where I am. I turned off my locations on my phone. I
it?
just
Mm.
need a phone to answer and do what I want to do because they are tracking everything you do. And if you don't think they know, Jerome, everybody that was at that January 6th insurrection, if
Hmm.
the government does own Bluetooth and they own Google and these other things, trust me, they already know. But it's being used to incite and control populations because we're going to talk about hitting the reset button again. Go ahead,
It
Gary.
frightens me, and it frightens a lot of
So,
parents, and it frightens a lot of government. I mean, there must be some way, some control can be used, or something, some kind of
well,
levels.
well,
You
what
It's
know,
called
happened
an
is,
off button.
I
the
just want to
interesting
say
thing
this.
about,
Everybody's confused, and that's what it does.
Yeah.
go ahead, Gary.
Well, anyhow, yeah. So what happened is I went to a meeting about 20 years ago when Facebook first got off the ground, and it was a program for seniors how to use the internet safely by the district attorney in New York when I was in New York. And they had the woman from Facebook. She says, "Hi, everybody. I'm the CEO from." No, she said some CFO or something from Facebook because they brought her in to teach the seniors how to protect themselves with the internet through the DA's office, right, District Attorney of New York. And she said, "I am with Facebook, and I'm here to tell you that Facebook now has an office in Washington, D.C., in the FBI building." I flipped because what she was telling us is that they automatically were spying on you then. And that's 20 years ago when it first started out. The only thing that they didn't have intact with Facebook is they didn't know how to make money. That was at the very onset, and they were trying to figure out that, if anybody remembers that. So then they figured out they could do it through I guess, the young people, and they used the young people to get onto the Facebook and everything. And so here we are, flipping 20 years later, where the young people using it, and it's causing a lot of havoc. But like I stated before, because of the fact that the government is involved in Facebook and all these different platforms, they're just slapping them on the wrist when something negative happens, and then they let them go back to their normal. So
Gary,
yes, it
I'm not.
is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No,
it
I'm
is.
not too
It
sure
is.
the government is that involved. I'm really not. I'm just because that's why they're having hearings and stuff now. They're trying to regulate it. The way
Yeah,
Facebook is
but
set up, they don't have to be regulated, Gary, because they're talking
yeah, but
about free speech and they're
Hmm.
targeting young children. They're targeting everyone, and we're being targeted. You have all this underground stuff being spread about COVID and all this misinformation on all platforms, critical race theory, all the things we've talked about is all being disseminated and not checked. And that's what the government's trying to do. They are operating, they have no one to control what they do. And that is the challenge. The government now is trying to put a lid on what they are able to do. They're operating willy-nilly. They can't be, that's what the problem is. They have a monopoly on everything and they're doing exactly what they want to do. And the whole thing is it's all about the Benjamins.
So
Are
then
you saying
maybe
it's too late?
then no, I'm saying maybe Facebook is the government because of what you just said. Now, the other
I
thing
don't think
is
they're the government.
my granddaughter has a phone and her mother doesn't allow her on Instagram or Facebook. And they have these phones where you can actually fix the phone for the children so they can't activate. That's what she
All right.
does with her
That,
with her with my granddaughter, and she's 13 years old. She tells me, Granddad, I don't use Facebook. I can't use Instagram. I don't use Instagram. I don't use Facebook because after I went to that meeting, I came back and I shut my Facebook. I only had like 10 friends, but they were sending junk anyhow. It was like
mm,
stupid stuff. So
Now, let me tell you
I
something
shut
about
it down.
13-year olds.
Now, guess what happened?
I taught
When I
13-year
came
olds
back
now.
and I shut
Don't
it
believe the
down,
hype.
when I came back and shut it down, guess what? You cannot shut a Facebook account down. I can go back
oh,
in and put my password in, and that account will still be there. Now, if you shut an email account down, you have to establish another email. Isn't that interesting? Why is it that you
Well, but
cannot shut a Facebook account down? Does everybody know that? You can't.
so,
it's
so
It's
there
actually,
are
That's
some
actually,
ways, Gary, there are some
yes,
ways that controls can be put in on this, but it's
yeah,
up
through
to
the
us,
parent,
the public, to want them and to demand them, right?
the
right?
only
It's
way
through
you
the
can
parent.
control it is to not give the kid a phone. No one sitting
Well,
on this panel had a phone walking around until they were an adult and knew how to use it. So it's a parental choice. Well, my kid's safety, my kid's safety, my kid wants a phone. You're buying into it. That's a
but that's
consumable
true.
device. It's a
That's
consumable
true that
device. And
yeah,
I
but
taught
that's
eighth
true
grade,
that
Gary. I taught middle school kids. And
mm,
trust me when I
mm,
tell you, they will sit
mm,
there and lie like a rug. They will
yeah.
tell you they're
Well,
not doing something, but they're looking at
mm.
their friends' phones that have it, and their friends are showing they are safe crackers. They're safe crackers.
But
They
it
can get
is
in.
true that it is true that the children today need the phones because in order to reach their parents in case something
Yes,
happens and they're
that's
out,
the excuse.
it's an excuse, but actually it works because look what happens today with the children. They're out there, you don't have the latchkey kids and stuff like that. They get home and they can't get in the door and the mother also can see what the children are doing on the phones when they have the phones too. So that's a
So it's
preventive
okay for the
measure.
parents to spy on the kids, but it's not okay for Facebook to spy on the kids. If they don't have a phone and you're not paying all that money to have this spam, look at the money on this phone stuff. Take your face
Yeah.
home, do your homework, and shut the daggone thing off. Use the internet under supervision what it's supposed to be for. And I know because I'm telling you, every kid got a laptop at the school of the future. All the
Hmm.
precautions we put on those laptops, they just erased them and went right on into the games and they hacked the system. If you think they're slow and stupid, no, they're not. I'm gonna tell
Well,
Well,
you right
hold your
now, they're
you
gonna
point.
get
know,
around it.
Hold your point,
they,
everyone. Hold your point, because we're coming right back to this subject in just a moment. And don't forget, you stay there too.
Cut.
Okay.
Okay, that's great. So I just want to adjust this light that's in Trudy's eye. Shorty, let me know when you don't see the light in her glasses.
I can't see
I still
anything
see
else
it.
right now.
Okay, just
Anyway.
look
Ms.
for it.
Judy,
Huh?
I can't get this freaking phone.
I know she took her glasses off. Yeah.
Is that better?
I don't know what's
They're still there.
Yeah, it's still there.
Well, you are moving.
Put your head down a little bit, Trudy.
I can't put it down much more.
I know. Okay, but I still see it in the corner on the left eye. Hang on, and I don't know how to look straight, Trudy. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, just try to stay eye level, Trudy, so that you're looking right here.
Well,
Okay, put your head down just a little bit.
I can't.
I know. Oh no, that's perfect. I don't know.
Well, I'll try to
Okay, that's
see.
good.
I
That's
don't
good.
see it
How much
anymore.
time?
I don't see it anymore.
Yep, that's good.
How much time do we have left?
So we have about 8 minutes left.
Okay. See if you see my thing on there. about
Okay.
the- One of the things I wanted to do, and we had started it and we didn't
Hold on.
continue, folks. We were going to do a little something about Black history on the end of each show. So we're going to start that again. If you can, pick up things that you want people to know about. I picked up the fact. Well, I didn't pick it up because you all know this.
Trudy, where is this over here? In an email or something?
It should be right at the top. About the 3 houses that exist here in the neighborhood: the Marion Anderson House, the Paul Rosen House, and the Coltrane House. And all of these houses are open. They're right here in our community, and people should know about them and go see them. So that's all. I'm not doing a whole history on them. I'm just going to
Yeah, I
mention
know, but they have taken over the Marion Anderson house. It's no longer under control because what's the name?
that. The
Passed.
girl?
Trudy, your
What's
email
the
is not up
woman's
here, so I don't
name?
Okay.
What's her name? Gary
Gillian.
and Jerome.
Yeah,
Gillian.
I know. They
She
they're
passed,
Gillian.
and they have, huh?
well ever since
Lillian.
they
No.
had the last Marion Anderson event at the Kimmel Center, things have changed. Yeah.
They have
I thought the
completely
money I thought the money was going towards the house, but it wasn't going towards the house. It was supposed
Well,
to
maybe
they
if
have
keep
we
the house.
support,
absconded with the whole thing.
Yeah.
maybe if we
So
support these
and
3
then
houses, wouldn't it
the
might
Coltrane
encourage?
House was having a little problem because somebody next door wanted to build
Well, they're all
they
having
bought the
trouble.
house. Yeah, they
The
bought the
point
house
is,
next
can
door.
we help in any way by mentioning them and encouraging people to go visit them and to contribute?
Well, the
So
topic is how do we let our institutions slip through our fingers? That's the
yeah, and that's a
challenge.
Well,
topic.
that's another topic. I'm just,
Yeah,
I know, but can I say something? So Trudy,
Yeah.
this is what you're talking about. If you want to talk about these things, they are being taken over, and it is a topic. How do we let these institutions? How do
all
we
right,
let
so
our
we'll leave
history?
it. We'll leave
How,
it.
how do we let our history slip
Yeah.
through our hands?
We'll
That's a
put that for
topic.
a topic. Okay, we'll leave it for a
But
topic.
moving forward, if we want to discuss things, if you want to say this is just something, if you want to say this is open or something else is open, and please go see it. That's something
That's all
totally
I
different.
was going to do. Yeah.
And for anybody, we can talk. If you have something that you know that is ongoing, you can mention it. But because we don't know when these things are airing, we want to be careful that we don't put something up
Dateline.
that's
They put
dated.
date. Yeah.
So Gary, you have a lot of things, but they're dated. So you don't know.
Right.
You don't know. But if it's something ongoing, like these museums are open, let's do it. But
yeah.
just tell us so that while we're in the middle of a show right now, we're not adding stuff we didn't know we were going to do. So you can do that, Trudy, if you just want to say,
Okay.
hey, these are open,
I'm
but
just
that's
gonna
it.
I'm just gonna mention that they're
Um,
available right here in our community. Let's support them. That's all.
Yeah, you could do that. You could mention the
Yeah,
fact
exactly.
that we need to support some of our Black institutions. That's all, and then you could give a
Okay.
couple of names. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we are coming back. We really have a little more than 8 minutes, maybe 9, but we'll
Give
keep
me
going.
enough time to mention these 3 houses.
I'm gonna after you the next thing I'm gonna give you is a wrap it up, and in that wrap up and bye bye, that's when you can say what you need to say.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So we're coming back, Shorty. You can count me down.
Is this blouse
It's beautiful. It's fine.
No, it's one-sided.
Oh,
That's all. I can't figure out the side.
You
Thank
gotta
you.
pull it
Thank
down
you.
from the back.
Okay, it's all right now. Okay. I just couldn't get my
Yeah.
sides together.
Okay. I want you to still keep your eyes like
Is that all
You
right?
know,
You're being a clown.
You want me to sit
Don't look-
down? I mean, I can take the
No.
pillow
you
away.
know, she's sitting on this huge pillow
You
that's
want me to take the pillow away?
raising her up about, you know.
No, stay,
foot.
stay is fine.
Okay.
Just keep your face forward.
Sharon, where are you?
Yes,
Don't forget, you want to come back in?
yes.
Okay, all right.
Look straight ahead, Trudy. You ready?
I am. Okay. All right. Okay.
You ready?
Am I down enough?
Okay, that's worse. Hold on, Trudy. Wait a minute. Okay, don't look up. I'm trying to fix it. Don't look up while I'm fixing it. Now, if you keep your chin level, we can barely see that.
We can barely see what?
We can see this. Okay, do you see? Can you see that light in your eye? Well, if you're looking that way, that's perfect. No, you can't. Look to the left and then look up.
Look to the left. That's the left.
Look up. You see all that stuff? You see these lights right here in your glasses? See that?
Oh, I'll take the glasses off.
Well, can you see?
Yeah, I don't have to see. Tell me where to look. That's all.
Okay, so put the glasses on soon because you had them on when we left. So once we come back, I throw to you, you start talking, just take them off on camera.
Okay.
Okay. Shorty, you ready?
Shorty left. I can't hear her.
Okay, I'm gonna cue you in.
Well, we're back with Trudy and friends and discussion about the social media and how it's mixing up a lot of folks. Wouldn't you say, Jerome?
Well, Ms. Trudy, thank you very much. Social media is addictive by design. And research has shown that with young people, especially, constant overstimulation causes the nervous system to go into the fight or flight mode. And if you're already an anxious teenager with ADHD or you got anxiety or depression, school shootings, again, spread by rumors and social media, causes these kids to go crazy. Mental health is a major problem amongst young people. And they did some research that showed they compared young people that spent 7 hours a day on social media to young people that spend 1 hour a day on social media. And needless I say more, the people that spend 7 hours a day on social media were the ones out there killing people because social media is not reality.
No.
The FOMO, the fear of missing out.
But we're stuck with it.
Pardon me?
I said we're stuck with it. What are we going to do?
Oh, I don't think we're stuck with it,
As
Jerome.
a human, make a choice whether you interact with social media or not. I keep my social media interaction to a minimum. I have Twitter, I have Instagram, I have LinkedIn, I have Facebook, but I keep them to a minimum. And that's what you have to do. You have to keep them to a minimum. I use them to do research. I use them to gain information. And, people are telling you everything about themselves. The government doesn't have to surveil you. You're telling everybody. And it makes
Exactly.
it interesting. It makes it easy for to do the research that I'm doing.
And it makes it easier for even adults to be corrupted by the misinformation, which is what we have going on in this country. And I'm going to tell you something. I wanted a car when I was 16. I didn't get it. I wanted to have go-go boots. I didn't get it. There are a whole lot of things I didn't get. And I would say, but so-and-so was going to this party. My father said, that's fine. Fine, let so-and-so go. You're staying home. And the same thing with these telephones and this social media with our kids. I'm sorry. If you're the parent, you can let them throw that guilt trip on you about this person, my safety. They know all the buzzwords to say to get their parents to go out there and spend money they do not have or really can use in other areas like purchasing other things rather than making sure their kids have a cell phone. If they can't pay the phone bill, they don't need a phone. If they're working, that's different. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
you
I
tough.
couldn't have anything. No, I'm sorry, because people are critical of my son because he doesn't let my grandson play with the cell phone. And I'm watching my other little, god granddaughter walking around making Instagram things. I'm like, she's 7 years old. What's she doing with that stuff? It's
Yeah.
time for grown-ups to be grown-ups. It's time for parents to be parents. And it's time for the adults to act like freaking adults. And all this YouTube and misinformation crap, adults need to stop this stuff too, because kids learn what they live.
Yes.
That is so true, because what happens is the parents, when they had their computers and they were doing their emails and this and that, and then the parents start doing Facebook and chatting with each other, and the children probably followed suit. They saw what their parents are doing, but the only way to, like Kathy Lee says, is to control it is to go back. It's interesting. Like we were using pagers at one time, and people used to page you, and you had to call them back on a landline or some other type of
Mm-hmm.
format. And so I guess in order to go forward, we got to go back. It's like the Sankofa bird. The Sankofa bird in Africa is looking back, but the feet are moving forward. And so you have to know where you come. In order to know where you're going, you have to know where you came from. And so we have to also go back to know where we came from, to know where we're going. And in essence, that's an interesting correlation, because of that factor that this is what's happening with us. We're buying into the future. We're buying
But
into
So,
what
see,
Go
ahead.
I'm
one of
sorry.
the aspects of social media is when they talk about it was a way of connecting friends. Kim Kardashian probably has what, millions and millions, if not tens of millions of followers on social media. We live in a world where our young people are exposed to this cult of personality. If I have more friends, I must be, quote unquote, a better person. And we as adults have to interact with our young people, especially, and make them
That's a good
realize
point.
that they need to experience in real life stuff. And the stuff on the internet is out there. Our young people are definitely the ones they're being bombarded with it, and they don't know how to get out of the way of it.
But Trudy
And
and
you're
everyone
right.
else, but see, here's the last thing I'm going to say on this show for today. Everyone knows that the brains of children are not developed at this time. They're not really fully adults, thinking adults that can think rationally, that can synthesize information in such a way that they can make responsible, educated decisions. We know that. So, evidently, this technology is definitely proving that maybe our kids should not have total access to this.
Yeah.
Maybe what they need to do is to create one. That's why they had MySpace, just one little place for the little kids. I don't know, and just be able to just monitor and turn the whole thing off. But their brains are not developed enough to handle this technology. At least that's what's being proven by all of the data. And the fact that these companies know that, and yet, in order to make a dollar, they're supporting the parents and supporting their children and damaging their brains.
In other
Some of them
words,
were
it's
born
time
dumb
for
and
them
they've
to
been
get
losing
busy.
ground ever since. It's time for us to get busy.
It's time for
And
them
the
to get
other,
busy, or us as
and,
parents.
yeah, and the other thing is that out of this hearing, that the whistleblower, there's supposed to be a hearing. Let's see what
Hmm.
happens at this hearing. Then we know how much the government really appreciates the system that is in place with Facebook, Instagram. Because if it's another slap on the wrist, that means that they don't want to do anything. Like Kathy Lee was saying, that the government is against it. Well, let's see what happens with this hearing that is being taken place as we speak, I believe,
Uh-huh.
where the young lady, I can't remember her name right now, but it was on 60 Minutes, so people can look back at 60 Minutes and see. So if this in the end is a slap on the wrist again, like it has happened 10 times before with Mark Zuckerberg and all the others and so forth, then that means that they don't want to do anything about it because they like it where it is.
It's a
Time for the
corporation.
parents to speak up.
It's a
That's all.
corporation. No,
You know,
just
one
take
of
the
the things,
phones.
one of the aspects about social media, and it's right in the early amendments of the Constitution, it's the talking about free speech. And the government is really reluctant to intervene in areas where it would seem like they're putting a clamp down on free speech. And companies use this, and they've used it very, very, very well. You know, the aspect of free speech that's in the Constitution, and you know, the freedom of the press that's also in the Constitution. These corporations, you know, they use that quite well to their advantage, and they monetize it well. And some of the biggest people that use it and pay for the services is the government.
Mhm.
Well, friends, you've done well today. You really have. And it was just great to be talking to you. And of course, we'll do it again next week. But in the meantime, I'd like to remind some of our young people that there's a living history thing going on right here in our communities. We have 3 historic homes that you can go to visit. One is the Marian Anderson House. The other one is the John Coltrane House. Those of you who like jazz, you can go there and find out all about his life and how it affected him. And the other one is the great Paul Robeson. They're all open. They all exist in our community. And I hope you will take the time to go see them. And now I'm going to take the time to say goodbye and thanks for listening.
Cut.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay.
That's
One
good
down,
stuff.
one
So while Shorty is setting up for the next show, can we come up with our next 2 topics?